Hello YouTube, and welcome back to another how-to video, and in this one I'm going to be showing you how to do the exteriors of houses. So I've built up this very boring, very plain sort of house exterior. So I'm also going to do a roof, and this is how I see some houses on the server. Not really this bad, but you know, I have seen some quite plain like this, so I'm just going to talk over some different things you can do to sort of liven it up, make it look a little nicer. So the first thing that you can do is at the end of your houses, just add logs, and that sort of makes it look like it's being held up. You know, it's got pillars at either side, like this, and you can see already that starts to frame the house a little bit. Another thing to do as well is do these simple sort of A-frame shape underneath like this, so that just frames the house quite nicely, right? And the second thing to do, if this is obviously a two-story house, so we're going to have a door there, window there, and then maybe two windows like this. So you're going to take this block and you're going to put across like that. Actually no, because of the size that I've done this one, we're actually going to take this block out, so it's only going to be too high there, and you're going to put a beam across there, and then here as well. So you want to do the beams going across, sort of where this bit starts to go up. And that's not too bad. It's looking okay. I'm not going to talk about roof design too much in this episode. I'll do that in a different one. But another thing that helps to really make it stand out is to add a lip or overhang. That was the word. And there's different ways you can do the overhangs. Very simple and basic way is like that. Another simple basic way, which I always use, is by putting the upside down stairs underneath as well, like that. And then in the middle you're going to do this, and you can either put a stair on top or a slab on top, and I think I'm just going to leave it as a slab. Like I said, I'm going to go over roof designs in a different video, because there's lots of different things you can do at the end here depending on the style of the house. So that is looking okay. It's looking a lot better from what it started on, but it's all sort of one colour, it's all one material, and it's looking a bit bland. So the next thing I'm going to do is swap out this bottom area. Now usually when you're doing something like this, you'll be swapping this area out for cobblestone, or maybe bricks, stone bricks, something like that. And you know, that adds a second sort of element to the house, makes it a little bit more interesting. And as you can see up here, it's quite boring again, so I'm just going to get some white stained clay, I think. Let's have a look. White stained clay. How's this going to look? So now we've got three different materials on the three sort of sections of the building. We've got the downstairs, which is quite stony. Then we have this upstairs, which is the wood, and then this nice white top piece there. So that really sort of makes it look a lot nicer, but still there's lots that you can do to it. It's still looking quite flat. And what I mean by flat is it's all in this one block sort of gap. You know, you could have it coming out 3, maybe 4 blocks. Depending on the type of house you're building and the style, will depend on how far you actually bring the house out and how much depth goes into it. I'm just going to put a door in here because it's bugging me. It needs a door. There we go. Okay, and why not? While we're here, I'll put some windows in. Iron bars there, windows there and there. Okay, so forget it. Windows. I'll try and be realistic and put iron bars there, but no. So now we're going to look into depth and what we can add. Now, if you don't want to be sticking it out a block, simple things you can do, like getting your log here. Where is it? There we go. And because the house is going to carry on in that direction, you can make this side stick out a bit. It doesn't have to stick out. Just turning those round, it adds a little bit of difference to the shape of the house. You can do it up there as well, but I don't think it looks as good because you have these stair blocks covering it up. But if they're not covering it up, then by all means, go for it. Go for that sort of stick out there. Just put these back. Okay, and that's one thing. And then the next thing would be to get some stairs. You're going to take your oak stairs and you can just go in a line like that and swap those round like that. And as you can see, it messes up the glass panes, but that's one way of adding depth. Now you want to keep these as sort of normal blocks so that these connect here. And I'm going to swap these round upside down, I think. Does this look quite nice? Yeah, that looks quite more interesting. As you can see, it's got that lip there. It instantly looks a little nicer to the eye. Now I've swapped the material there for stained clay, and that's pretty much because I was lazy and couldn't bother going looking for the oak planks. But if I just put them in, as you can see, it still looks sort of, it's all one material. It's a little bit boring, so that's why adding these in, one, it makes it a bit more interesting. You've got more variation, and two, it leads a transition here, so it makes it look a little bit more interesting. Next thing we can do is maybe add flower boxes or something like that along here. So to do that, there's different ways. You can either have a simple one, which I'll do sort of here, or you can have a more prominent one, which sticks out quite a bit. And I'm going to use a different darker material, so I'm going to be using the spruce. So you can just do that, and then get a trapdoor. I'm on the wrong bit. Trapdoors. There we go. Put trapdoors all around it. In fact, put a trapdoor there as well. And there you have your flower box. Now this doesn't really work on a house this size. If you want to do this, I would suggest sort of bringing it all the way across like that, and that would look a lot nicer. It elongates it a bit, and you can see we've got that extra bit of depth going in there now. Or the other sort of style you can do for a flower box would be to get, where is it? I need a spruce wood stir for this. Again, you can use any material, but I think it looks better with a different one, so like the spruce. And just, add it in there like that. We'll get rid of this one for now, because I don't think that works. Put it in like that. And then you can put a flower pot on top with a flower in. And, it doesn't stick out as much, because it's the half, and then a half sticks out. If that made any sense, a half and a half. But then it doesn't protrude as much. It's not as bulky as the flower pot was just then. So I'm just going to move that to there, like that. And then you can get your flower pot on there, and you want some nice flowers. Go for some dandelions and pink tulips. Why not? Put one either side like this, and there you go. You've got a bit of colour into the house. Something I like to do with these, because when flowers are left outside and they're not really tended to properly, is, add a dead bush. That works very well for medieval and overpopulated places. But if you want it to look really, really nice, then by all means stick to the really colourful ones, like that. So as you can see, it's looking a little bit nicer now. We've got a bit more detail in there. But to me, this still lacks sort of really interesting exterior. Now I'm going to go through this bit quite quickly now, because there's a lot that I'm going to be changing. I'm going to get some stone bricks and just put them along the bottom here, and I'm going to get some stone brick stairs. Now this one is very dependent on sort of what the style of your building is. I'm going to do that like that, and I'm going to do this like this, so that you get that nice little gap here. Fill it in either side there, and then you can put a window in down there like that, or something like that, and that just makes it look a bit more interesting. You're like, ooh, there's something down there, I wonder what that is. If I just go down here like this and get a torch, put that down there, and I can cover that back up. So now you'll be walking by, it's like, oh, there's a bit of light down there, what's coming out from down there? And iron bars is a great one for using there. This would be used sort of in heavy populated areas. Next thing is actually bringing this out by a block. So bring it out there and there, there and there. You know, that also adds a bit more interesting dynamic to the build. I'm going to get fence posts and put them in here like this. And then I'm also going to get cobblestone wall. Again, this bit now is conquest dependent, metadata dependent. If you don't want to do that, you can use fences, or if you just want to use normal cobblestone, you can. But I'm going to change this to match the wood that's being used there. And that just adds an extra layer to the build. And this is still in 2 blocks, so it's not overhanging too much. Okay, and I think one final thing, if we get the fence oh dear, that went very, very posh then. Not a big fan of that. So we get these fence gates like this, and you can either go along in a straight line, or you can add fences in between like that, and that just makes this a little bit more interesting as well. So we've got quite a lot of detail going on now, and in fact, I'm actually going to drop that down, and maybe do that. No, maybe do that. Maybe do that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this lip works now because you can sort of see through this gap there. Maybe if I just change that like that and change that to like that. I suppose that makes a bit more sense. And then, I don't know, we can just put that in there, or maybe a full block of oak planks. That makes a bit more sense, doesn't it? So as you can see, it's looking quite nice then for a very simple, basic shape. Again, if I was doing the roof designs, maybe it could stick out a little further or something like that, or maybe it could go up something like this, and it adds a bit more of an interesting shape to the roof. And we have this very flat area here. Now, depending on what you want to do, you can either punch out an area for a window, or you can have a 2-high window maybe, or if you get a painting, let's just see what paintings we actually have in Conquest, because I always forget. And you can just cycle through and just find something that makes it a little bit more interesting. So I've got a blue banner up there, and like that, it's quite nice, quite simple, very, very small details now. If I go get a button, we'll get normal sized buttons. We want normal sized. We want wooden buttons and the normal stone buttons. And again, you know, just these add a bit more depth to the build. You don't want to overuse the stone ones. You want to keep them looking a bit random. But the wooden ones, you want them sort of strategically placed at the end like this. It just makes it look a little bit more interesting. I'm just thinking now, the top material, I don't normally use oak wood for the top. That's probably what's making it look a little bit odd to me. So I prefer to use either spruce or dark oak. So we'll go for dark oak for the roof material. Just change these all out. And again, this should add a different colour to the build and make it a little bit more dynamic, a little bit nicer and a little bit more interesting. So we've done that, and yeah, it does. But now this bit here is too bright, so swap that for spruce. How's this looking? There you go, and it looks quite nice already. There's a subtle change there, so it actually stands out a little bit. But altogether, it's looking quite nice. I did just see a hopper, and a hopper, I suppose, is another nice way of doing like the flower pots like this, but it's more sort of world edit and like plugin dependent. Doing it this way, we won't be using that. So this would be, you do that, shift and left click on your flower pot, shift and right click, and then the flower disappears. There you go. You can sort of get different flowers in there, but it doesn't always work, and sometimes this will end up messing up. So it's a little bit more fiddly doing that. But yeah, it's an interesting idea as well. So that's it. It's very simple stuff, very basic, and again you can do this design that you've done there along here as well. Just do that to see what it looks like. Get rid of that button for a second. Put fence gates in, and then put that one button back. And it looks a little bit more interesting. And look at the complete difference. If you go back to the start of the video, we just had this one material straight house, and just by adding little changes every time, just go back to it. Oh, we can put something here. Oh, that area's looking a bit boring, we'll change that. And we've got a completely different front to our house. And depends on the style, depends on the materials you use, and you can even do a lot more interesting stuff by bringing these pillars out, and then they come out again, and then they go up again. So the house ends up like overhanging 4 or 5 blocks into the street, and it's great for creating atmosphere and narrow streets and things like that. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Hope you've learned something new with sort of detailing the outside of a house. This isn't perfect, and there's still things that could be changed, but it's a good start to get people going if they're not sure what to do. Yeah, so don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one.